First off, let's clarify this. Once you read enough kids' horror, everything starts merging together. You start to see the same stuff, it all gets boring to a certain point, and you're going to reach burnout very quick because if you keep reading enough kids' horror and a lot of the same stuff keeps on repeating, eventually you're going to get tired of reading that kind of stuff. But then occasionally you get a gem. A bright, shining gem just like that lamp, right? And it's so good that you're like, why can't more kids' horror be like that? Why is it limited to just these few gems of books and it can't apply to the rest of them? And that's what this book is, because I absolutely love this book. And funny enough, it's my very first book in this series, which is none other than Spinetinglers. I'm going to be reviewing Billy Baker's Dog Won't Stay Buried Mars. Also, I'm surprised at how dark and sinister this book is, considering the cover looks like Casper's Adventures for a dog, right? It's like the golden retriever version of Casper. And I was like, yo, this cover, it's going to be okay. I'm not that excited for it. And even with the name of of the book, you're like, you know what? I figure out what's going to happen. You have no clue into the deep, dark depths that this book will go. So, I am, of course, reviewing Spinetinglers, Billy Baker's Dog Won't Stay Buried. I did a buddy read with a couple of my homies, of which you may know. You have Goosebumps Completionist, a.k.a. Austin, and also Monster Blood, a.k.a. Austin. That's right, double trouble, you got two Austins. Both great guys. I talk to them on Discord all the time. I've watched their channels for a long time before I started my own. They will be linked in the description, so be sure to subscribe to both of them. And also check out all their videos. Hit that like button. You know what to do. Comment down below. Show them support. I'm sure you guys are already subscribed to them, but if you aren't, go down and check it out. All right? So I did a buddy read with these guys, and we all read it at the same time. And funny enough, we all had different levels of reactions to the book and how we felt about it. Now, I'm not going to spoil what their reviews are, so go check it out. But let's just say one of us didn't, one of us liked the book, but we didn't think it was the best thing ever. Another one of us really liked the book, and, there were some flaws that we found in it, but still overall really enjoyed it, thought it was fun. And then there's a person who really loved this book. Can you take a guess who that is? That's right, it's me, man. It's none other than me, the passionate, crazy guy himself. I love this book for a number of reasons, all right? The tone in this book is crazy. This is one of the darkest kids' horror books I think I've ever read for several years now. The crazy stuff that happens in this book. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this book, but it's very sinister. A lot of dark, gruesome stuff happens. There's a lot of emotion to the book. You'll get a lot of emotional scenes within this novel. And my favorite part of the book is the epilogue. That's right, there is epilogue. There is an ending to this book, the last chapter. And the last chapter solidifies this book as one of my favorites of all time. I really love that epilogue because it went down a direction I was not expecting. It is one of the probably darkest epilogues I've ever read, and there are specific scenes in there and specific decisions made by the author that I think make this book stand out, because I was expecting a certain type of ending, the kind of corny thing that you expect when it comes to, you can either go down a corny route or that very stereotypical twist. That's not what this book did. So stand out right there. But before I get into the full strengths and weaknesses of this book, there is one weakness that I don't think takes away too much from the book, but it's still a glaring weakness that all three of us, me, Completionist, and Monster Blood, all recognized. Let's get into the plot synopsis. So this book starts off with a euthanization scene in a raging thunderstorm. Let's zoom in real quick right there. If you didn't think this book could get dark, it gets dark, all right? This book gets dark. It starts off with the euthanization scene in a raging thunderstorm, which is Billy Baker, the main character of this story, is basically having to put down his dog, Howard. The reason why this is happening is because Mr. Calhoun, I think that's his name. I forget names, so I think it's Mr. Calhoun. That's his neighbor. Basically, he moved to California. Billy Baker and his mom moved to California. And when they moved into this new neighborhood, their neighbor, Mr. Calhoun, was a real, sorry kids for the language, but a pain in the ass. He's a huge pain in the ass of a neighbor. He always causes trouble. He always causes problems. And Howard the dog ended up attacking Mr. Calhoun, and he actually had to get stitches across his face. So you get that gruesome scene off the rip, or at least a description of the scene. He had to get stitches across his face after Howard attacked him. And basically right away, right there, Howard got demonized because, he attacked Mr. Calhoun, and right away the neighborhood was like, that cannot fly. And Mr. Calhoun's like, I'm going to sue you. And the mom was like, we don't have enough money to go into a lawsuit with Mr. Calhoun, especially one that we're probably going to lose. So you're going to have to put down Howard, unfortunately, Billy. Billy has a rough time, obviously, as any kid would, but he has to agree because obviously he knows his mom is in a difficult financial situation. So he decides, you know what, let's put Howard down, even if it pains me. But he makes it clear that Howard would not attack unprovoked. Even though Howard got demonized for the attack, Mr. Calhoun is such a shitty neighbor, such a bad neighbor, that basically it's hinted, very well clearly hinted, that he probably did something to make Howard mad, and that's why Howard attacked. Otherwise, Howard does not attack other people unprovoked, as many other dogs don't attack people unprovoked. It's either really bad training or really bad owners, or, like it could be the person that's messing with the animal in the attack, but, he has to put down Howard. They're at this euthanization scene, and as Howard is getting euthanized, a thunderstorm is going on, and the lights start flickering on and off. And there's a point during this euthanization sequence that Billy looks into the eyes of Howard, and he sees something. It's not clarified what he sees, but he sees something. And he right away says from that point, Howard's going to come back. This is not the end of Howard. And the veterinarian's like, what are you talking about? Because the veterinarian is close with his mom. And even though they can't afford money to pay for a funeral for Howard, the veterinarian is going to pay for it because he's close with the mom and they worked together before. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, that turns out to be a little bit of a, let's say, kids, it's a little bit more than a friendship. A little bit of a romance there. He's going to pay for it. And Billy right away is like, yo, Howard's going to come back. And immediately you get the establishment of a cult-like church in the town called, I believe, the Church of the Kingdom of Resurrected Pets. I think that's what it's called. The Kingdom of Resurrect, something like that. Where basically they worship the whole idea of a pet cemetery. Where basically animals will come back from the dead. The pets that are buried in the pet cemetery will come back alive. At one point, at one night, they will resurrect and do whatever it is that the animals must do. It's not clarified what they will do, but they will come back alive, and that way pet owners will get the chance to reunite with their pets. However, the only pet owners that can reunite with the pets are ones that are a part of this church. That's the caveat of this prophecy. So right away, the veterinarian is like, have you been listening to like the church of the Church of the Resurrected Pets? Are you following them? Because why are you saying this crazy stuff? And Howard's like, you know what, forget it, because his mom doesn't like the church, and the veterinarian he's a science guy. He doesn't care about what the church has to say. He thinks they're crazy. So Howard just says forget it, but it keeps running through his mind that he's like, what I saw in Howard's eyes right before he died, that look he gave me, a sparkle of something in his pupils, he's going to come back. So later on, what happens is that he keeps having this vision. It kind of keeps him awake, and then they have to get to the burying of Howard. So they get to the funeral, and obviously Billy's not feeling okay. He feels like he's a little bit disappointed with how they just put a tarp over Howard instead of giving him a proper grave, or like they put like some type of sheet over him, and he doesn't like the quality of it. And Mr. Calhoun, the guy who got attacked by Howard, actually comes there, and they get into an argument where they basically start arguing with each other. Mr. Calhoun is throwing taunts at Howard, and as they get into an argument, basically Billy Baker just yells out loud, I wish Howard would have done more to you. I wish he would have attacked you more. And guess what? He's going to come back from the dead and you'll be sorry. And then, Mr. Calhoun spits on the grave and does all this extra stuff. So right away, you later on, you get conversation with the mom. You get conversations involving, grieving process and thought process and thoughts. And then eventually, Billy meets with Hannah, and Hannah is the daughter of the mother that owns the Church of the Kingdom of Resurrected Pets. And he speaks with her because it's plaguing his mind, the whole idea of Howard coming back. And he's like, let me talk to her. Maybe I can get to her. He talks to her. She explains the prophecy. She explains what her mom talks about. And one night they visit the Pet Semetary to see what's going to happen. And what do you know? Howard does come out of the grave, and Howard leads them straight to Mr. Calhoun's house, where it's hinted that he wants to attack and hurt Mr. Calhoun. Presumably because Mr. Calhoun mistreated him, he wants to come and get revenge and kind of finish the job, quote unquote. So as they're watching this, they're freaking out. Mr. Calhoun's obviously freaking out. He's scared out of his life. And eventually Howard walks away. He gets away when Mr. Calhoun locks himself inside of a room. And as he's walking away, Howard and Hannah can kind of tell that, I said Howard and Hannah. Billy and Hannah, my bad. Billy and Hannah can tell that Howard's running out of energy and that basically he's not going to last much longer. And they return to the grave, bury him. The next day, Billy Baker is followed up by the local sheriff in the town, who apparently works alongside and partners with the church for the money. He's in it just for the money gain. And speaks to Billy, tries to get a testimony out of him, tries to convince him to join the church. They're like, no. The mom is like, no. And they figure out that these guys are like a cult. They're trying to recruit other people and gaslighting people into joining. And what happens is eventually, let's say that Howard may not be the only one that comes out of the grave, and that the prophecy of the church talking about resurrected pets may come true. Now, I'm going to leave it off there because I don't want to spoil this story. The story is so good that if I keep going, it'll point towards more spoilers. But let's say that afterward, this story gets extremely insane. It goes on a very, very dark, sinister, high-grade scale in terms of the action. And the ending, the epilogue to the story is very haunting, very creepy, and not at all what I expected. So, what are the strengths to this book? I give this book a 9.8 out of 10. This is one of my favorite kids' horror novels that I've read in several years. Now, I take 0.2 off for one singular weakness that I'll talk about later. But the strengths of this book. The emotion in this book is very good because you have a kid dealing with the grieving process of losing his pet, having to euthanize it because of a difficult situation involving, a person taunting the dog. That person is clearly bad, but because the dog attacked, it looks like the criminal. It's an animal, so, humans are prioritized over animals. You get that little bit of a conversation in this book where you have the dilemma between, do we care more about the animals or more about the people? Let's see where the lines blur. You get that sort of dilemma and that emotional tug. You see how Billy Baker is grieving throughout the entire book. You get a lot of scenes where people are put into danger, people are put into bodily harm, and you see how they react. You see the desperation, you see the fear, the resentment, the almost sadness within this family's lives, their friends' lives, the people of the town's lives that are at risk. You see it all. And the ending to this book is very emotional because it's very somber. This book does not end on a happy or goofy or surprise twist. It goes down a very dark route. And I think that adds to the emotion within the book. You get these emotional struggles throughout the book where people are put into danger, people are put into difficult situations. You have sadness, grieving, anger, all these negative emotions and even positive emotions come together with this entire town. Billy and his family are not the only ones being affected. This entire town is being affected, and it's almost this apocalyptic world that is made out of these suburbs, and you're seeing how Billy and his family and friends navigate through this apocalypse that's kind of going on right now. Another strength of this book, very dark and sinister. You get gore, you get violence, you get blood in this book, you get revenge. There is the revenge storylines involving these pets. You get Obviously, the book starts off with the euthanization and the thunderstorm, which is setting the mood for the story. You have a revival of dead animals. You have people's lives put at stake. And again, the epilogue to this book goes down a dark route in terms of what the town treats a certain person. If you read the book or you plan on reading it, you'll find out. You find out how the town reacts to a certain person and whether or not they forgive that person for certain things that happened. And you go down a route where I'm going to say this in terms of the dark and sinister, and another aspect is the sheer scariness of this book. There is a scene in this book which is straight up Smile Dog. For those who don't know about the Smile Dog creepypasta slash urban legend, I guess you can say, behind that, it's a Reddit creepypasta called Smile Dog. Look it up or don't look it up. There is a scene in this book which is straight up Smile Dog, and it comes at a very important part of the book, in my opinion. And when I saw that I read that Smile Dog scene, and I read the rest, and I see what the story was going down into, I was like, surprise Pikachu face. Yo, it is so creepy. For those who know, Austin, you guys know the scene in the epilogue. I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, but there is a Smile Dog scene at the end of the book. And if you don't know, look up a picture. Yeah, you guys may get nightmares and whatnot. You can ask me to look it up. I'm not looking it up again. Now, granted, that's not because I'm scared. That's mostly because I've already seen it. Let's move on. So you can look it up. You can look at what I'm talking about. And it's horrifying. And that's literally almost damn near a scene in this book. And the climax to the book is super intense, a lot of action. This might be one of the most action-packed horror books that you'll read, and I think it all comes together for a great package. The only weakness in this book is that the Church of Resurrected Pets is kind of just a thing that exists, and it's not given that context that it needs, and it's not built upon as to why I should care about it, why does this make sense, and why does this whole thing align with the town. That's not there, but to me that doesn't take away from the book. To me it's a weakness, but I still give it a 9.8. It is still a fantastic book. So again, this book is one of my favorite kids horror books of all time. For a Goosebumps knockoff, this book is better than almost every Goosebumps book that I've read so far, and I've read 50 so far. I've read 50 Goosebumps books, and I'm still going to keep going. And I've read The Haunted Mask. I've read Welcome to Dead House. I've read Cuckoo Clock of Doom. I've read Creature Teacher. I've read Are You Terrified Yet? I've read all these books. This book, Billy Baker's Dog Won't Stay Buried, is one of my favorite kids' horror books I've read for many years. And if this was a Goosebumps book, this Goosebumps knockoff does better than all of those books. All right? With the exception of Welcome to Dead House, which I do think almost compares this book, or I think maybe that one rivals this book in terms of my favorite. This book, fantastic, amazing. Go read it. Go check it out. Don't get fooled by the Casper cover with the dog. You think, oh, it's going to be corny. I already know what it is. This book goes to like level 11 in terms of the high octane action and the stuff going on. And it's so creepy, so scary, so dark, so emotional. It's such a great package. The first 5 chapters are creepy. And then the next chapters to come are like, you're like, whoa. I was not expecting that, all right? I was not expecting that, but you'll be pleasantly surprised. Please, go check it out. Go pick it up. I would even recommend this is the first Spinetinglers book you read. So please, go check it out, guys. This is a book that I recommend everyone reads. Even if you don't normally read kids' horror, I think you should read this book because it might make you impressed. And honestly, I'm surprised this never became a movie. I think this book works great for a movie plot because I imagined this book as a movie when I was reading through it. That's it for this review. Sorry that this is a longer review, but understand that this book is a little bit longer than most Goosebumps books, and on top of that, it is such a great book that I cannot stop bragging and talking about it. I wish I could go on longer, but I don't want to keep you here forever. Again, 9.8 out of 10. Down below in the link are Austin, Goosebumps Completionist, Monster Blood. You can check out their reviews because they already posted their reviews for this book. Go check it out. Go see what they had to say. And yeah, Be sure to stay tuned for more content that I'll be dropping. And let me know some books you guys want me to read. If there are some kids' horror books out there that are series that I'm already not covering, feel free to let me know. I'll go check them out, try to see if I can read them, and get those reviews out to you guys. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Deuces. See you till next time. Yo, man, that Smile Dog stuff, man, that gave me literal nightmares, all right? Literal nightmares, which is funny because that cover had me laughing my ass off. I was like, yo, this is one of the stupidest covers I've ever seen. And then you get to the epilogue, and I'm over there whimpering like a dog in my bed, and I'm sitting there looking at my window like, yo, is there any animal that I unintentionally, accidentally may have hurt within the past because I don't want them coming after me? Actually, I think there was my friend's dog that I accidentally did close the screen door on their tail as they were running up. Do you guys hear scratching?